What's up YouTube? I'm Sushi Drew, and welcome back to Ahead of the Game. Spooky season is right around the corner, and October 2025 is shaping up with creepy adventures, chaotic roguelites, and hidden gems across all kinds of genres. I'm highlighting the games that I'm personally most excited for, and who knows, you might find something to add to your playlist. Let's go. October kicks off with a heavy hitter, Ghost of Yotei, from Sucker Punch, the team behind Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Yotei transports players to 1603 Japan, where you take on the role of Atsu, a low-class mercenary whose family was murdered by the mysterious Yotei 6. Without the rank or honor of a samurai, Atsu adopts the persona of an onryo, a vengeful spirit feared even by elite warriors, using ghostly powers to track and take down her enemies. The story drops deeply from Japanese folklore, yokai myths, and Edo period ghost tales. Unlike Ghost of Tsushima, where heroism is tied to honor and poetry, Atsu's journey is raw, personal, and survival-driven. The devs actually trekked out to Mount Yotei in Shiratoko National Park to capture the natural sounds, the landscapes, and even the way the snow crunches underfoot. The inspirations are clear. On one hand, you have Red Dead Redemption 2's slower, more immersive world building, and then on the other hand, you have Breath of the Wild's player freedom. Gone is the Ubisoft-style checklist. Instead, you make camps, and the world comes to you. Quest givers show up at your fire, rumors spread organically, and suddenly you're not chasing icons on the map. You're living like a wandering swordswoman. Combat is deeper this time. You've got dual swords, chain weapons, polearms, and even firearms. You can disarm, grapple, and yes, you can even call in your wolf companion mid-fight. It's bloody, weighty, and cinematic. What really excites me is how this installment expands the world I loved in Ghost of Tsushima, with larger maps, freer exploration, and a focus on discovery. The team at Sucker Punch, working with cultural advisors to keep the world authentic, seems to have crafted a game where stealth, strategy, and storytelling all feed into the same experience, and I cannot wait to get lost in this beautifully haunting world. You won't have to wait long for Ghost of Yotei, as it releases on October 2nd, exclusively on PlayStation 5. Now, if you prefer your October gaming with a shot of adrenaline and a sprinkle of chaos, then you might want to check out Absolum. Guard Crush Games has teamed up with Dotemu. Both studios previously collaborated with Lizard Cube on Streets of Rage 4, and now they're back with what they're calling a rogue 'em up. In other words, it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up layered with roguelike progression. The game takes place in Telem, a fantasy world torn apart by magic and ruled by the oppressive Sun King Azra, who's outlawed magic and enslaved mages through his Crimson Order. You stand in the shoes of rebel champions, Galandra, the necromantic sword wielder, Carl, a brash dwarf brawler, Cider, a nimble skirmisher, and Brome, the frog wizard, each with widely different playstyles and motivations. Combat is where Absolum truly shines. It fuses slick beat-em-up combos, light, heavy attacks, dodge, counter, with magic spells and punish mechanics that reward timing and skill. You chain up combos and build mana and unleash arcanas. Flashy, screen-clearing special attacks that look and feel devastating. But then, the roguelike layer kicks in. Each run is a new experience. You choose from rituals, which are the passive upgrades, and earn inspirations, which are the active skills. You navigate branching paths, and even complete side quests. It's an arcade brawler that evolves as you play it, with meaningful progression and strategic depth. Adding to excitement, it looks absolutely gorgeous. Super Monks brings hand-drawn visuals inspired by French comics, fluid animation, and pairs it with a stellar soundtrack featuring Gareth Coker, who worked on the Ori series, Yuka Kitamura, who worked on Elden Ring, and Mick Gordon, who worked on Doom Eternal. Plus, the game supports both local and online co-op, so teaming up with combos is totally on the table. I'm super stoked for this. It's everything I wanted in a rogue 'em up, beat 'em up. I'm super stoked for this. It's everything I wanted a modern beat 'em up to be. It's stylish, chaotic, replayable, and if it delivers on its promise, Absolum could redefine the genre this year. You can check out Absolum when it arrives on October 9th on all major platforms. By Sweet Carol is one of those games that feel like it came straight out of a dark children's book, the kind that fascinated and terrified me growing up. It's being developed by Little Sewing Machine, the indie studio led by Chris Darrell, who worked on the Remothered series, and published by Just for Games. The story follows Lana Benton, a young girl who uncovers a portal to the mysterious kingdom of Corolla, ruled by sinister aristocrats and populated by unsettling anthropomorphic animals. The game takes obvious inspiration from classic Disney animation, but here, the whimsy is twisted into something eerie and sinister. They wanted to channel games like Resident Evil, Clock Tower, and Gris for their thoughtful pacing and atmospheric tension, all to create a sense of childlike wonder twisted into dread. On the gameplay front, expect cinematic horror blended with platforming and stealth. Lana can shapeshift into a rabbit to navigate tight corners or vanish from terrifying enemies, while a supporting character, Mr. Basie, a loyal companion, helps with the cross-stage traversal and puzzle solving. The slow-burning, tension-filled pacing honors the legacy of psychological horror classics rather than chasing jump scares. The visuals are all hand-drawn, frame by frame, and it gives the world a kind of life that pixel art or CGI just can't match. You can feel the love and effort in every scene. Bye Sweet Carol is doing something rare in horror. It doesn't lean on gore or cheap scares. Instead, it relies on atmosphere, dread, and storytelling all dressed up in this unsettlingly beautiful Disney gone wrong aesthetic. It's the kind of game that'll probably stick with me long after credits roll. You can check out Bye Sweet Carol when it comes out on October 9th on all major platforms. Speaking of nightmares, few series do dark fairy tale horror as well as Little Nightmares. In Little Nightmares 3, the nightmare expands. This time you're playing as Lo and Alone, two kids trapped in a nightmare realm called the Spiral. One of them carries a bow and the other a wrench. It's like the Hunger Games if Katniss teamed up with Bob the Builder. The whole game is built around cooperation, solving puzzles, boosting each other up, sneaking past horrors together. You can either play online co-op with a friend or solo with an AI companion. This one's being developed by Supermassive Games, the studio that brought us Until Dawn and the Dark Pictures anthology games, with Bandai Namco Publishing. They've taken over from Tarsier Studios, who are actually working on another game called Reanimal, but the tone and visual design remain unmistakably Little Nightmares. Visually, it's as haunting as ever. Dimly lit sets, exaggerated monsters, and that toy box meets nightmare art direction. The sound design continues to carry weight too, with creaks, distant groans, and distorted lullabies filling every quiet moment. What has me hooked is the potential for co-op to intensify the dread. There's something so much more terrifying about keeping a friend alive while monsters stalk you. Little Nightmares 3 doesn't just want to scare me, it wants to test how I can work with someone else under pressure. And for newcomers, the original Little Nightmares is getting an enhanced edition with upgraded visuals, so there's no excuse not to jump in. If you want horror that's more unsettling than screamy, and that looks like it's crawled out of a children's drawing gone wrong, then you might want to check out this series. Little Nightmares 3 launches on October 10th on all major platforms. One of the most surprising games coming next month, Ball Pit, is a mashup of Breakout, Vampire Survivors, and base building progression. It's being led by indie designer Kenny Sun, joined by a small team including composer Amos Roddy, and together they built something that looks equal parts retro and completely fresh. Here's the premise. Balbalon has collapsed, leaving a massive pit of monsters and treasure. You dive in with enchanted balls, ricocheting them through waves of enemies, catching them mid-air, and chaining combos. Over 60 types of balls can be fused together. You got explosive balls, burning balls, or broodmother balls that spawn more projectiles, each unlocking new strategies on the fly. Outside the chaos, there's a whole city building layer. Rebuilding New Babylon means constructing over 70 structures that unlock upgrades, characters, and meta progression to keep runs evolving. Every run is reactive and skill-based, with the ball juggling already fun before the upgrades even come into play. If this hits, this could easily be one of the most addictive indies of 2025. Ball Pit launches October 15th on PC, PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and Switch, with Game Pass on day one and a Switch 2 version later this year. So, Double Fine has a new game coming, and this time you play as a lighthouse. Yeah, a lighthouse. Not the keeper of the lighthouse, not some ship at sea, the actual lighthouse itself, and somehow it looks incredible. The game's called Keeper, and it's directed by Lee Petty, the guy behind Stacking, Headlander, and Rad. Double Fine is leading hard into surrealist adventure here, with no dialogue, no combat, and no obvious exposition. Just a giant crumbling lighthouse that suddenly wakes up, sprouts legs, and starts wandering across the forgotten sea. It's absurd, it's weird, and it's exactly the kind of thing Double Fine exists to make. The gameplay is built around exploration and puzzles. The lighthouse shines its beam to bring plants to life, activate strange machinery, and literally reshape the environment. You're joined by a seabird companion named Twig, who helps out with small interactions like perching on switches or pulling levers. It's all about discovery, wandering through dreamlike landscapes that shift and transform as you light them. Think Salvador Dali meets Studio Ghibli, but with bricks and mortar. This is environmental storytelling at its purest. No words, no HUD clutter, just atmosphere, puzzles, and a world that feels alien and alive. If Double Fine pulls this off, it won't just make you care about a lighthouse. It might make a lighthouse one of the most memorable protagonists of the year. Keeper launches October 17th for PC and Xbox Series S and X. And yes, it will also be on Game Pass day one. So the Katamari series is finally rolling back into the spotlight. Once Upon a Katamari is the first new console Katamari in 14 years, and honestly, it feels surreal even saying that. This is a series that defined weird, joyful chaos. For me, back in the PS2 days, I played Katamari Damacy so much that I used to walk around my room and even go outside and imagine what things I could roll up into a ball. That's how deep this game lodged inside my brain. The original creator, Keita Takahashi, has long since moved on. He left Namco years ago working on games like Watam and other experimental projects like the most recent To a T. But Bandai Namco and the new dev team at Ren Game are carrying the torch here, trying to keep the same blend of whimsy and absurdity alive. The setup in this game is nonsense. The king of all cosmos has once again destroyed everything in the universe, the earth, the moon, the stars, and it's up to you as the prince to roll a Katamari through time and rebuild it. We're talking Jurassic dinosaurs, ancient Japan, the Ice Age, entire eras just waiting to be rolled up and turned into new constellations. They added new tools this time around, a magnet to pull in items, rockets to give you bursts of speed, and even a timer that freezes moving objects so you can scoop them up. On top of that, there are 68 cousins, each customizable with different faces, colors, and accessories. And for the first time, there's a new multiplayer mode, Katamari Ball, where up to 4 players compete to build the biggest Katamari before cashing it in for points. What excites me is we're literally getting a new Katamari game. Like, that's enough for me to get excited. But this honestly feels like the perfect mix of nostalgia and new ideas. The core loop is still that meditative joy of rolling junk into bigger junk, until you're rolling buildings and entire continents. But now, with power-ups and multiplayer, it could evolve without losing its heart. For me, this isn't just another game release. It's the return of the most weirdest, most joyful series that ever convinced my bedroom floor becoming a playable level. If it lands, this could easily be the comeback of the year, and it might end up being one of my favorite games of the year. Once Upon a Katamari launches October 24th on all major platforms. There are very few games that hold a truly special place in my heart, and Dragon Quest is one of them. Growing up with the original Famicom release was absolutely transformative for me. This game became my gateway to learning Japanese, and I was blown away by Sugiyama Koichi's brilliant orchestral score that made every moment feel epic. Dragon Quest is the absolute granddaddy of JRPGs. It created the template that every JRPG has followed since 1986, turn-based combat, experience points, and character progression. Dragon Quest II expanded that formula with party-based combat and a much larger world. Now here's something interesting about Square Enix's remake approach. They're tackling what's known as the Urgent trilogy in chronological story order rather than release order. Dragon Quest III is actually a prequel to the first 2 games, so Square Enix released that HD2D remake first last year, with 1 and 2 following this October. Team Asano are the visual wizards behind Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy, and Live Alive. They've perfected this HD 2D art style that makes pixel art feels more nostalgic and cutting edge. Sugiyama's legendary compositions are getting the full orchestral treatment they deserve. They've completely rebuilt these games from the ground up with additional content and quality of life features like objective markers and auto battle options. Both games now feature scrolls, a new item type found in treasure chests that lets characters learn specific spells and skills. For example, the hero in Dragon Quest I can learn Dragon Slash to deal high damage to dragon enemies. Dragon Quest II gets a major addition with the Princess of Cannock joining as a playable party member, specializing in frizz and crack type spells, whereas she was only an NPC in the original. Plus, Dragon Quest II's sigil system returns and has been added to the first game, granting combat advantages, like the Sun Sigil making special abilities land critical hits. I'm genuinely excited about this one because these games represent pure, distilled JRPG essence, solid mechanics, and compelling progression wrapped in a world that feels both intimate and epic. Plus, there's apparently surprise content that Team Asano is keeping under wraps. Whether you're a longtime fan or newcomer curious about where JRPGs began, this looks like the definitive way to experience these legendary adventures. Dragon Quest I and II HD 2-Day Remake launches October 30th on all major platforms. Yacht Club Games, the studio behind Shovel Knight, is finally back with a brand new adventure, Mina the Hollower. Instead of knights and shovels, this one pulls inspiration from classic Zelda and Castlevania, blending top-down exploration with whip combat, clever puzzles, and plenty of secrets to uncover. You play as Mina, a whip-wielding mouse inventor known as a Hollower, someone who can literally burrow underground. She's called to Tenebrou Isle after the spark generators, her own creations that power the land, mysteriously fail. And from there, it becomes this mix of exploration, monster hunting, and mechanical mystery. If you grew up with Castlevania or the Game Boy Zelda games, this is going to hit you right into nostalgia. Mina's whip combat feels straight out of classic Belmont territory, and the burrowing ability adds a modern twist. It lets you dive under enemies, dodge projectiles, or even sneak beneath hazards to pop up on the other side. It's fast, snappy, and it looks incredibly fluid in motion, something the original Game Boy wouldn't be able to render. The world itself is a large interconnected map packed with secrets. There are hidden rooms, optional sidearms that change up your playstyle, and trinkets you can equip for extra perks. Bosses are huge and theatrical, big, grotesque beasts with patterns to memorize and weaknesses to exploit. And thanks to the Game Boy Color inspired HD visuals, the game somehow looks retro and modern at the same time. It's pixel perfect, but enhanced with widescreen, dynamic lighting, and smooth animation. And then there's the soundtrack. Jake Kaufman is back, the man behind Shovel Knight's phenomenal score, and he's joined by none other than Yuzo Koshiro. If that doesn't ring a bell, he's the legend who composed the original Streets of Rage and the Yi series. So yeah, the music is gonna slap. There's even a demo out. It covers the opening stage and first boss, and everything you unlock there carries into the full game. If Yacht Club Games can deliver the same tight design and heart that made Shovel Knight timeless, this could be one of the standout indie action adventures of the year. You know, I say that about all the indie games on this list, but that's why they're on the video. Mina the Hollower launches October 31st on all major platforms. Thank you so much for reaching to the end of the video. If you liked it, make sure you hit the like button because it helps tremendously, and subscribe if you want to see more. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. Let me know what games you guys look forward to in October. And if you want to hang out and chat about games in real time, I stream every day on Twitch and YouTube, so come by and say hello. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.